All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome this evening to the Park and Staebler Roads Improvement Public the Citizens Participation Meeting. Tonight, we wanted to give you some information about the major capital improvement project that's going to be going on around, I assume, where most of you guys live. Just out of curiosity, like the easiest thing, how many people are residents of Trailwoods proper?
Will you do some introduction, by the way?
Yeah, I will. I will.
Trailwoods.
Yeah. Okay, I was just kind of curious how many were Trailwoods and how many were peripheral. Kirkway? Nobody from Kirkway? Okay. Everybody else just uses the roads as a commuting road. All right, well, thank you.
We live on Park Road.
Park Road, I could go through. Yeah. So, all right, thank you. My name is Scott Betzel. I am a civil engineering, I'm a partner with Midwestern Consulting. We're the civil engineering and surveying firm that worked with the developer to design the Trailwoods subdivision and the off-site improvements as well. With me is David Stolman. He is the president of Biltmore Development. Biltmore Development is partnered with Sherman Capital, and they are the developers of the property. The interesting arrangement out here, which is not uncommon, and you probably know this if you're residents of Trailwoods, is the developer built the improvements of the subdivision and is responsible for the off-site improvements as well. Then in turn, after the subdivision was built, after the water mains, the sanitary sewer, the roads were constructed, the mass grading, detention ponds were done, they sold lots to builders, blocks of lots. The first block of lots went to Toll Brothers, and then subsequently the second block of lots and really the rest of the subdivision was sold to Lombardo. So the builder's responsibility, or the developer's responsibility, was to develop the infrastructure and get the lots ready to build. The builders then, for all of you residents of Trailwoods, obviously, they sold you packages of home, lot, perhaps landscaping as well. I don't know what the deals were, but so there's two people responsible for various aspects of the site and where they occur. Within the boundaries of each individual lot, for instance, or in the common areas or the roadways, different responsibilities. And the responsibility has been shared as the project developed. History of this site. This started a long time ago. It started like right after the recession. It started in 2011. We started working with the township here. So we've been working for 12 years on this project now. We got preliminary and final site plan approval. That took us to about August of 2015. And by the way, that was what your subdivision looked like before anybody came in. Farmer Grants, does everybody remember Farmer Grants? I'm sure the residents of Park Road and everybody do. What's that?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, if you're in the back, the better view's back there.
That was Jackson's property.
Yep. Jackson owned the, I'm using my cursor here, Jackson owned the southeastern quadrant. Jonathan Greenberg and his wife owned the southwestern quadrant. And the Farmer Grant, the Grant brothers, I think, right? It's what their family trust.
Yeah, I can't remember.
They own the bulk of this up here, which they cultivated fruits and vegetables that they sold at their retail market that was on Jackson Road, where basically the front of the Menards parking lot is. So I'm sure they were there for 50 years at least. So getting this approved was a very complex process. We had involvement with the township. We had to entitle the property. The property was zoned a PUD, which came with certain conditions. We had to work with the Washtenaw County Road Commission. They identified immediately that these roads were soft surface roads. They would not support all the traffic generated by a new 315 lot subdivision, and there was going to be improvements that were necessary, and we knew that going in. That was no surprise. You don't put a subdivision in development like this big on a gravel road without knowing that you're going to make some improvements to make this a little more durable surface and less continuous maintenance. We had involvement with the Washtenaw County Water Resources Commissioner, which I will use when we're speaking interchangeably with the term drain commissioner. That's what they used to be called. They were in charge of reviewing all of the stormwater runoff and the discharge and certain works in county drains. The Honey Creek is a legally established county drain that bisects the southwest corner of the site, wraps around, goes around the modular home community, I forget what it's called now, and then returns to the north side of Trailwoods and continues off to the north and east. Eventually, the Honey Creek joins up with another branch of the Honey Creek, and they end up in the Huron River. So there's a very complex set of relationships. The state of Michigan was involved as well. EGLE, that's the Environmental Great Lakes and Energy Division. They were involved in the water course work with the drain crossings. They have overlapping jurisdiction with the Drain Commission. They have different interests than the Drain Commission. So we had different interests to serve, and so it was a lot of work working with all the parties, getting compromises, and a lot of times to get our final approvals through the subdivision. We did get our final approvals in about 2016, and construction began, I think in 2016, or was it 17?
It was 17.
17, okay. It's a lot of things have happened since then. One of the biggest things that we had to do, one of the biggest improvements with the agencies was working with the Washtenaw County Road Commission. The Road Commission, as I said, identified that there was going to be certain improvements were necessary. Those improvements included paving the roads, and we had a pair of crossings that were very old, very outdated, narrow, anywhere near today's design and safety standards, and those were going to have to be approved. In July 21st of 2015, the developer signed a development agreement with the Washtenaw County Road Commission. One of the conditions of that agreement was that they would, and you can see it up there, I think you guys can read it, replace the existing structures over the Honey Creek Drain on Staebler Road, just north of Park Road, and on Park Road, just east of Staebler, with one structure over the Honey Creek Drain. Replacing the existing structures shall include the realignment of both Staebler Road and the Honey Creek Drain. However, if after good faith attempts to obtain required permits from responsible government agencies other than Washtenaw County Road Commission, such permits cannot be obtained, then the existing structures will be removed and replaced with new structures at the existing locations sufficient to accommodate the road improvements.
Question?
I'm gonna ask that we hold, if you just make notes of your question, I think this will flow easier. We're more than halfway done with my presentation. The rest is gonna be question and answer, okay? Okay. So there were 4 sets of improvements that were requested by the Road Commission and that the developer agreed to. The group 1 involved the rehabilitation of the existing roadway of this section of Staebler Road and the construction of a new road from the end of the existing pavement at the southerly entrance to Kirkway past the northerly entrance to, or the southerly entrance of Trailwoods. That was the first phase. The second phase, that needed to be done prior to any building permits being issued. The second phase, I don't quite have it, includes a dedicated right turn lane for eastbound traffic of Jackson Road going south onto Staebler Road. That was to be constructed, I believe, at the start of the second phase of construction, which was in this general area out here. Those 2 phases have been done. The third phase is this phase here. This phase takes us from the southerly edge of the pavement that was done back in 2017 down to the intersection of Park Road across the frontage of the subdivision to a point 100 feet east of this road, whatever it's called, for Arbor Point. That's where we are today. That design process, the definitive final design process, that started in 2018. Back in what I believe was about 2015, early 16, we had arrived at the conclusion that just before the road improvement was signed, that we could, in one way, shape, or form, provide a single crossing for the Honey Creek near the intersection of Park and Staebler. So let me show you this. This is the pre-existing topography with the layout of your subdivision, if you are a Trailwoods resident, on it. Yeah, I wish I could get. So anybody in the road design business or planning business looks at this and they say, wow, we've got like 2 crossings of a water course right at this intersection on 2 roads. Like, we need to clean that up and make that one crossing for ease and simplicity. When this was built, standards were different, if there were even any standards that anybody adhered to, or if they just did it. This crossing right here, perpendicular to the road with these tight bends, you can't do that anymore. It's a nightmare. It's a erosion nightmare. It's bad for hydraulics. That, and if you look at here, these 2 dashed lines are the edges of the existing gravel surface where my cursor is bouncing back and forth from. Those represent a traveling surface of anywhere from 18 at the lowest point to about 24 feet, sometimes the highest point. It averages really more like 20, 22 feet for the most. It necks down at the bridges. I think the bridges have about 18 feet of clear between the guardrails on each side. But this county drain currently is right on the westerly edge of the pavement here. There's no runoff zone. By today's standards, it's a 1-on-2 slope. It's dangerous by today's standards. You wouldn't do that anymore. So this all has to be addressed. And this is compounded by the fact that this road being, let's call it 20, 22 feet wide of gravel surface, today's standards call for 2 12-foot lanes, a 5-foot paved shoulder on each side, and then a 2-foot gravel shoulder in addition to that. So the total width from edge of road, including the shoulders, is going to be 38 feet. And so it's a wider surface. I mean, it's very similar to what you see on the recently improved part of Staebler Road at your northerly type of entrance there. And so that drain needs to be addressed, and how we handled that drain within the existing easement that the Washtenaw County Drain Commission had to be addressed, and it was a finicky fit. So we devised, we looked at a couple of options, and so make sure I'm not supposed to be showing something else yet. The best option that we could come up with that met the goals of all of the multiple agencies that were reviewing this was a single culvert, and the goal was to try to get it as quickly across the road under the intersection to have the shortest distance, because the state of Michigan wants the very least amount of enclosure of the open channel as possible. They view an open channel as a much more hospitable environment for the creatures that live in the water, for the environment. So that was their goal, and we worked with them for 2.5 years, showing them the different options that we could employ and the different amounts of enclosure that they all employed and the costs associated with those, to finally get a permit with them. Is this the final plan here that you're showing? No, I'm showing you existing conditions, pre-existing conditions. Well, they're existing today. I'm showing you now the final plan. So, and I've got a simplified version of this. This has a lot of lines on it and everything, but I just wanted to show you something here first. So what's gonna happen is the road is going to swing out, Staebler Road will swing out to the east slightly and meet Park Road. Essentially, Park Road and the drain are gonna flip-flop. And the reason that we have to do that, and let's see if this is the best one. I don't think this is the best one to show you. I'll show you on another one. I want to point out something on this plan. I've heard that people are under the impression that the berm is going to be removed on Park Road, and that's not at all the case. The berm is completely going to remain. The original plans that we did that reflect, for instance, this topography were done before phase 1E was constructed or phase 2E was even designed. So the berm wasn't there. It was still a farm field when we did the topo. So that's why you don't see a berm on here. And the proposed plan didn't have one on there either. we put this on here just in the last couple of days so we can show people that that is going to remain. That berm is not going to go away. The stakes that you see out there are stakes that represent where the silt fence is going to be staked, which are generally put, I told them to put them approximately 10 feet off the edge, the limit of disturbance. Because if you ask a contractor, he's got a grade to this point here, you can't put a silt fence right there. So you gotta give him room to work, and so there's offset 10 feet. Now, sometimes when you tell a computer to offset them 10 feet and give me staking lines, the computer doesn't recognize the difference between roads or berms or anything, and it just offsets it. If it happens to fall in a road, our surveyors will correct it, because they're obviously not gonna put stakes in a road. But if it goes on the berm, they just kind of stake it on the berm, and so it is where it is. I haven't been out there, but I understand some of the stakes go up on the berms. But trust me, nothing's happening to the berm. The berm is staying.
Stakes that are 10 feet. So 10 feet still on a berm.
10 feet is still on the berm.
So no, the stake,
Yeah.
10 feet is still on a berm. Does that mean they cleared to that 10 feet?
Yes.
Okay, that's still on a berm.
Yes, there is some work on the berms, but the tops of the berms aren't changing. We have to put a different path in there. The path is gonna be a slightly different elevation. It varies by up to 1.5 feet, the elevation change of the path. So the path is gonna be reconstructed on the west half of Park Road, west of the, I don't know, what the entrance is called off of Park Road there into 2E.
You designed
The names have changed 2 or 3 times since I did, so I don't know what your road names are. So anyways, I wanted to just get through that. So the berms are all staying. The landscape is not changing on the berms, and so just wanted to dispel that thought that somebody has had. So let me show you a simplified version here of what this all means. Other than I think everybody fully understands the straightaway paving and new bike path. Is that correct?
No.
Just okay, let's stop then. Let's stop and not talk about the culvert, right? The box culvert right now. Does anybody have any questions about anything other than this that we're looking at right now? Sir?
When I raised my hand earlier, you were showing a document and you had a highlighted paragraph that talked about, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What is that document?
That is the road improvement agreement that was drafted by the Washtenaw County Road Commission that obligates the developer to make these public road improvements, the 4 sets that I went over on the other slide. The turn lane on Jackson Road, the first part of paving on Staebler, this part of paving on Staebler. The 4th one, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you about, is the removal and replacement of the bridge between Trailwoods and Menards on Staebler. That'll take place at perhaps a year after these do. We don't want to shut down, we can't shut you down both ways. So that's what that document is. That was signed in 2015.
So pertaining to that document, was that, you made mention that you said anyone who's building roads would have known that you couldn't just replace those existing structures. Is that what you had said, pretty much?
You want to get rid of 2 of them and make them into 1.
So then why did you fight to actually replace both of those instead of putting 1?
I'm sorry?
There's a consent judgment that says that you have to do it that way, but yet the developer, you all, when you originally wanted to build that road, if I'm not, I might be completely mistaken, but I believe that your plans were to actually replace the existing structures and not actually put 1. Is that wrong?
Yeah, I think so, if I'm understanding what you're saying. So
I can be clear.
we're working with the agencies, had preliminary meetings to discuss all of this. And everybody was of the opinion that we don't need 2 structures to build, 2 structures to maintain, 2 structures in a bad geometry format. And so 1 structure would benefit all parties involved. And the road improvement agreement was signed with the road commission, who the road commission then subsequently, I'm not a lawyer, subsequently filed a consent agreement, which does what?
It provides public notice to the whole world that.
We didn't fight it. We were willing participants. So
But it wasn't in your plans.
so you have to understand, off-site improvement plans are totally separate from the subdivision plans. The subdivision plans are under the jurisdiction of the township. The township doesn't have any jurisdiction in the right-of-way. The plans for the right turn lane on Jackson Road were nowhere to be found in the subdivision plans either. They were all separate plans that they were submitted to the Washtenaw County Road Commission for review and approval.
The plans that you just showed us didn't show a road that encroaches on Staebler Road that you knew about in 2016, you said?
When was it designed? I think that's
We
what he's
were-
asking. I'm not clear.
Well, the plans that I just flipped through,
Yeah.
that was designed in 2018.
No, the ones that still have not shown that going through the open space on Staebler.
Because the subdivision plans, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, the ones that everyone's seen up until this point.
The subdivision plans didn't show any off-site improvements whatsoever, because the township had.
Not offsite.
What's that?
That's a
These
part
are
of the
offsite.
subdivision.
It's in Staebler Road.
No, it's in the open space.
Oh, okay, it's gonna be a right-of-way acquisition, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, you're talking specifically about that.
So that's my next question,
Yeah.
so does the road commission now expect to own the dirt or simply have an easement on the common elements within the subdivision?
I don't know if it's an easement or right-of-way fee simple, to be honest with you.
But you guys made an agreement, what was the agreement?
It doesn't specify the terms of the right-of-way acquisition,
Isn't that important?
not really.
It's not, who owns that land?
The road commission has easements over some roads and right-of-way over others. And I can't tell you exactly what drove the different vehicles for that purpose, to be honest with you. Sure.
Hey, yeah, I just wanna look back a little more, 50,000 foot. If we could have that map back up,
Sure. Which one?
any one that shows the path of Honey Creek in relationship to Park and Staebler Road.
Like that one?
No, it'd be better if
Oh,
it showed the Honey Creek and, yeah, one of those guys.
The existing conditions or the proposed?
Sure, that one's good.
Okay.
Alright, can you make it a little bigger?
Yeah, I'm going to. I need a bigger too.
Jordan's fault for raising his hand. Damn it, Jordan.
There you go.
That's good enough. So, back in the 1950s, I get to play old guy here because I used to know the dude across the street, Carl Holtz, the owner of the Holtz farm there. And Carl told me that they came in the 50s when they put in a more stable Park Road and they rerouted the Honey Creek. That's not its natural path.
I'm sure of it.
The Army Corps of Engineers came in here and dug it all out and moved it. Which was nice for Carl, because he was able to farm a little bit more land there in the corner. Now, if you look on the other side, you got your Staebler Road there. Why not just direct and dig out so the land to the west of Staebler Road is owned by the township now, is that correct? You got it from the.
It is now. I think that's.
Donated it or?
Yeah, yep.
That you were a part? So why wouldn't we just run the river straight down the western side of Staebler Road and connect over on the former Holtz property? And not disturb the path of that and obtain your objective of only having one crossing.
Okay, so you're suggesting that, so here's if you look at my, stand up.
Can I ask a question while you're doing that, just a short one? You just said it is now. Did Scioto Township acquire that land after your proposal was approved?
I only saw the Scioto Township acquired this like 2 weeks ago, when this became an issue. I know that it's a recent.
Right, so, all right, so you're asking him to, why did he do it? And he couldn't have done it when he made the plan.
Right, so it was
Because
about
Scioto
5 years
Township
ago.
didn't own it.
It was about 5 years ago.
So yes, what you're proposing
5
is,
years ago, sure, but
well, I'm saying what you're proposing now
we're not.
might be possible now
Yeah.
if they were starting from the ground up.
Would it have been possible 5 years ago?
I don't know.
Well, that's when they acquired it.
I think it would be because there were
Sure.
plans for about 3 years.
But the plans were in place
But the plans
and
were-
signed off
they didn't have
in
the plans.
2015.
Yeah, I know, I was there.
Okay.
Let's hear the answer.
Okay.
I'd like to hear the answer.
Well, my short answer to that is, nobody informed us that it was a possibility, we're underway with the design of this, so. So, to answer your question, this is the existing gravel road, okay? And you're suggesting, why can't we just go in and run it down here and tie in right here, correct?
Or
Are you talking
even,
about the
even,
road or
The drain,
The drain, yeah.
Not the
run
drain, you
to
could-
the
you
west of the road.
yeah. So, here's the edge of the road. And as I was telling you, this road is about 18 to 20, let's call it 20 feet wide right now. It's gonna grow, that's 10 feet each side of the center line. It's gonna grow to like 18 feet each side of the center line. This is the right-of-way line, the property line. You can't get a drain and the new road in there and stay within the right-of-way or the drain easement.
No, I mean, you're moving it onto this neighborhood property, why not move it onto the township property?
Further
Further west.
Well, okay, so that certainly wasn't an option at the time. So we didn't have that, we didn't have
Okay, well,
that.
we didn't know that you were gonna come in with this plan at the time either. And neither did you, quite frankly, until recently.
What's that?
You didn't know that either until recently, right? I mean, that's what you're saying, this is all a surprise, Doug, go on, it's all a surprise.
You mean the ownership of the property?
No,
No, this
the
plan.
path of the road.
Well, this plan, we started designing this, the detailed design of this in 2018. We started permitting.
I haven't seen it
Yeah, we
at all,
just started
nobody's
showing
seen it at all. Where has it been posted, where did anybody agree?
We thought everybody knew about it, to be honest with you. We thought they were builders.
So just answer the question, please, which is, who did you submit these plans to? Did the township review these plans?
No,
Was this posted? There's never been an HOA meeting. None of the residents have ever been informed of any of these plans, and I don't think you're being very candid about any of
And
those.
we bought our property
Based on the
based
site
on
plans.
the way, on the site
And
plan.
if you have alternative site plans, you are under a fiduciary obligation to inform the people that you sell this property.
Now we're gonna have a road in our backyard. I'm not happy at all.
I understand. The township did not review these plans because it's not in their jurisdiction to review the
But
plans.
it's in the master deed.
It is in the master deed.
The road commission reviewed the plans, the Washtenaw County Drain Commission reviewed the plan, the state of Michigan reviewed the plans.
Well, what about Toll? Did Toll know about it?
Yes.
And they didn't tell us?
I
that
don't know
there was
what,
gonna be
I
a
don't
road
know
in
what
your
Toll
backyard?
told you, so,
Toll told us nothing.
well, I don't know that, so.
Well, I do.
Don't allow them to transfer responsibility to Toll. You knew about these plans, you did not file them properly through the township, nor were there public meetings held. You are responsible for pulling these changes. Okay, and it was, and you're not being candid in some of the history, it was a consent decree, it was a legal document.
Hold
That
on,
was
but
fine.
you said that you don't owe the township to get that approval, is that right?
The township doesn't have jurisdiction over approvals that involve the public right-of-ways.
But that's not a public right of way.
But it was a proposed public right-of-way, it was a realignment of the road, so.
So let me get this straight. So in our master deed, right? It says that any changes, material changes, and I'm not going directly from this, have to be approved by the township in order to do these types of things when it deals with the common area. Is that, this doesn't apply to that because it's going directly through the common area?
I don't know what the master deed says, to be honest with you. It's, I didn't write it, so.
David, you?
No.
So you didn't look at the master deed?
Maybe 7 years ago.
Not important enough?
What?
It wasn't important enough to understand what's in there as it relates to this?
For this meeting?
For anything, I mean.
Well, I 7 years, I don't recall what the master deed says, but.
So I guess my question is, at this point, I mean, everyone else can ask their questions, so I apologize, but at this point, when do you anticipate starting construction on this?
That's completely undetermined. We have some work to do with the township. It likely is not gonna be this year.
Because you actually have to get their approval or for some other reason?
We have to have a meeting with them and discuss what we need to do given these recent events. So it's undetermined what we need to do, but, so this is a relatively recent event.
Operating in good faith. I'm just gonna tell you this in a public forum here. Okay, I'd like to put things on the table and I would like you to operate in good faith.
I guess I'm really,
You have a bunch of people who are asking, I think, very legitimate questions, and I don't think you're being very candid.
we're trying to answer them, sir.
Well, the record shows something very different.
This was not, so I hate to tell you this, but we don't try to hide $1.5 million worth of road improvements from anybody. I mean, your builders should have been the first thing they were telling you when they were selling you a lot.
We were told that the existing roads would be paved in their existing form.
That's right.
Okay,
That's exactly
The site
what we were
plans that
told.
were given to us in the master deed agreement, which again, I believe you crafted. You may not have reviewed it, but perhaps it's time to go back and review those documents. Does not show alterations to the master deed. That's the first thing. Site plans that are handed out by the builder do not show any revisions or changes. The township does not have any documents. You can go look at the land plots and there are no existing documents, and I've done that. We've done capital improvements. There are no existing documents in the township records that show any future changes to the existing subdivision. So again, I don't think you're being very candid.
I'd like to add on to that, and just say, well, one, I had a question. You mentioned needing to meet with the township. Is there a date set for that yet? Because I think people here would be interested to know when that would be occurring. The second thing is to add on to what this gentleman was just saying. In those site plans that we did all see as part of working with our purchases, it does show like gas line easements, right? It shows easements all over the place for different things within the property. And as people are saying, the common space was clearly defined as these sections. Nowhere does it say there's an easement in there or something of that nature. Even further, things like the trail signs that the developer put within the neighborhood show those areas as common space. And if this kind of plan was something that was developed ahead of time, it seems like that should have been part of that final designation, because those trailhead signs, for example, supposedly show what that entire community will look like upon completion. So that is where I think a lot of concern is coming from, is that we were absolutely told very clearly in documentation, in the master deed, in the plans, even in posted signs that are in the neighborhood, what was common space and what was easement space, and this does not align to that.
Can we let Jordan ask the question?
All right, thanks, Joe. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up 2 points at this point. This is a document I can actually, can you guys see the screen if I share my screen? All right, so I'll just show you a document. I believe this is a document from Midwestern Consulting. Are you able to see that? So if you read the text there, and this is stamped on all your documents from Midwestern Consulting, as provided in the master deed, it requires approval of the developer and the township to make changes. So this was actually dated after all your agreements. This was from 2016. So your own firm has, said that you need township approval to make any changes to this area. It's on all the documents we were provided when we purchased our house. And then I'll show you one other document here. So my understanding is that township approval hasn't been obtained, but the township approval was supposed to be obtained to make any of those changes. And then I guess you might have this there. Do you have Exhibit F from that agreement? The plan unit development from the document you were showing earlier?
I do not. I have the road improvement agreement only.
Okay, so this was included in the township agreement, but I can show you a couple things from there, but after the Washtenaw County Road Commission agreement occurred, there was a separate agreement entered into between at least the developer and the township. And there's a couple things that contradict what you're saying here. So this, you can read the full thing for details. It includes the Washtenaw County Road agreement in this, but I'll show you one exhibit from there. Let's pull it up here. So if you, this is, again, this is dated. Yeah, it's, here it is.
There we go.
This is, if you read phase 3, this is dated after the Washtenaw County Road Committee agreement, but it says, if you want to read, so including paving Staebler Road to Park Road and Park Road east of the property, including 2 crossings of Honey Creek 1. So, you know, even though the language of 1 crossing was discussed earlier, what was subsequently entered into the township agreement discusses 2 crossings of Honey Creek. But you're talking about that you guys had decided you wanted 1 crossing, which, you know, again, there's 2 contradictory agreements. And my understanding is these agreements were never amended or changed afterwards. So this agreement, which is signed by multiple people, including the developer, says that there will be 2 crossings of Honey Creek. There's also a picture of the plan in that agreement as well that shows, you know, the original design. So I don't know if you guys have any comments on that.
Matt, would you like to?
Sure, I'm Matt McDonald with the Washtenaw County Road Commission. So that comment could be referring to, it's saying 2 culvert replacements?
Yes.
Because we have 1 crossing at the intersection and then 1 crossing to the north. So those are the 2 crossings. That's why, it says it in the PUD and the road improvement agreement. I know it's confusing, but we haven't talked about it, but there is gonna be another replacement of a culvert crossing to the north.
As part of phase 3,
As part of 4.
because that was written under phase 3.
I understand, so 4. Yep, but I didn't write the PUD agreement, the road commission wasn't party to it, we were just part of the road improvement agreement.
So why are we moving it?
As far as Scott explained, there's a lot of parties involved and a lot of permitting. And ultimately, this was what they worked through with all the permitted agencies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, trust me, from my perception, this is all about the township not keeping us informed. I
didn't know.
How would they know? They never provided the document. Nor were there public hearings, nor were there community hearings. And again, I think that just speaks legions to the way you're approaching
Hey,
how
Matt.
you do business.
Were you here when I asked the question about who actually owns the road and the dirt?
Generally speaking, we get easements,
Okay, so
so it'd be an easement. a
So
road
is
easement
that
for
part of an
public right of
agreement
way.
somewhere that's?
I'm sorry?
Has that already been agreed upon?
It has not been executed.
So you can't start.
And what does it take to execute such an agreement?
The developer has to execute the agreement.
So as of today,
The easement, I'm sorry, not agreement, easement.
so as of today, who owns the land?
I'm not an attorney, I'm a
Well,
civil
you
engineer.
haven't made agreements.
So the right of way is not, it is 43 feet from center line right now. We have that executed. We have documents ready to be executed for what's needed for this improvement. And the developer needs to execute that agreement, or not the agreement, the easement, sorry. Keep flipping that. Sir?
Disregarding the history of this, what's preventing you right now from taking into account all of the changes that have happened since 2015, including the fact that Scioto Township now owns that and drafting a plan that's more amenable to everyone?
And that's a big question that I am completely unprepared to answer because there's a lot of twists and turns in that road right now. So we do have to.
Is that a possibility?
I don't know. I cannot commit to saying it's a possibility or an impossibility at this time. You're asking me to answer a very complex question that's taken 4 years to resolve in like one sitting, and I'm sorry, I'm not really willing to do that. So
Okay.
Sir?
As you point out,
that Honey Creek, which you refer to as the drain, you're not really resolving getting it out of your right of way. When you pave the road, you're gonna have a wider right of way and that creek falls right in it. You're gonna have to move probably 400 or 500 feet along Staebler Road to the left, which is west anyway. So why don't you just have it cross maybe 30 or 40 feet further to the west on your drawing? The park, it's parkland, it's a 23-acre parcel up there that you're gonna be into, and you probably will put the creek back in its natural sort of setting. And it just, there's a property line that's dead center on Staebler Road there. Holtz is to the right, and it used to be Holtz, and then the Johnson family owns to the left. I mean, it would be a simple purchase of maybe 1/4 of an acre is all you would need to make that adjustment. And then you could have your drain and the roads could run straight and you would eliminate all these problems from everybody.
In the
And
interest of
put it in a
time,
more natural setting.
excuse me, in the interest of time, I just asked a question that covers anybody's ideas about what could happen in the future. They will not answer the question. They are not in a position to answer any question regarding what they could do in the future.
You can't make commitments sitting here at a meeting. I mean, these are complex issues that have to,
I mean, I know we all have
agencies.
ideas and I know we all want a change, but I just asked, what is preventing you from taking up the idea of a change? And his answer was, we cannot commit to answering that question one way or another. So none of our ideas, I mean, we can spend the time to talk about them, but they're not going to answer them.
That's fair. So you saw the upset community. I'm kind of a little bit surprised that you didn't have contingencies already kind of worked out, or I understand, like, I'm not asking you to commit to anything. Yes, that would be way too much, but like, where do we go from here? You see that there's a community upset. You've taken into account a lot of stakeholders, which I absolutely understand, but we are also a stakeholder that is raising our voice. So what are your proposed next steps?
We're gonna have a meeting with the township first and talk to them about working through their issues and some possibilities that we have with them. As I said, we've pretty much lost the project. This isn't gonna get built this year. It's gonna take, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna take 3 years if we have to redesign, because that's just the permitting process, design and permitting, so.
I hope that, you know.
I don't even know. Eagle was the toughest agency to deal with. We started permitting with them in 2019, in November of 2019. We had to do multiple environmental and remedial studies to study the drain, the stream form loss. There's a lot of stuff. We had a $75,000 environmental study by another agency for a county drain. And that took months and months and months, and it was passed around through multiple agencies at the state to review. Everybody had their different interests. One group had mussels, freshwater mussels as their interest that we had to satisfy. Another had fish, another had aquatic life and aquatic plants. And it was just serving one master after another. And it took us till May of 2022 to finally get the permit from the state of Michigan. One thing the state of Michigan is keenly interested in is absolutely minimizing the amount of culvert enclosure of the natural channel. And that's why they like this, because it had provided the shortest enclosure of the natural channel. And that would seem to be, at the end of the day, when you got past all the creating riffles and rapids and stuff and eddies and pools, which the Drain Commission doesn't want, because they don't want any of that stuff. They want this drain to be straight. They want it to move water as efficiently as possible. So they don't want all of these plantings and logs and this and that in there. So it's working amongst a bunch of different agencies with different interests that takes so long. So when I say it'll take 3 years to redesign this, I'm very confident of that.
Appreciate your
Questions. This is a question I want to address to our road county commissioner, Matt, because I think this dovetails very nicely. I do appreciate that you've done all these studies, you know, environmental studies are important things. This is a question for you as road commission. With a 55-mile-an-hour road, which is going to obviously see increased traffic, noise, pollution, was there any consideration made to the proximity of that road to the existing structures and houses? And the impact that has on residents, children, pets, animals, et cetera. And was that part of the calculation in the road commission?
Yeah, ultimately, when we're looking at permitted road improvements, we're looking at our standards, national standards for guidelines for designing roadways, looking at horizontal and vertical curves. First of all, it's not gonna be 55 miles an hour. It's a stop condition at a T intersection. So the speed of the road is, you're only a couple hundred feet from the stop sign. So ultimately, the speeds will be lower than that.
Cars
But
go
ultimately-
very, very fast on that
They'll be going
road.
faster
No one
than
obeys
55
the
there.
traffic.
They just 70 down the dirt road in the crappy condition that it's in.
It is horrible how fast cars go on that road.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'd like to hear what is the setback for a
We don't have
2-lane
setback requirements. That is a land use decision. So when they do setbacks for site plans, that's something that the township would review. The road commission would not review for setbacks.
How would the township review it if they didn't know about it?
Ultimately, this again was agreed to and provided in the PUD agreement. The township knew about these improvements, absolutely.
When?
So when the agreement was signed, in the paragraph that Scott read at the beginning of the meeting, it's very clear that this was going to happen. They.
No, it wasn't, actually very vague.
It said that realignment were going to happen.
Realignment, improvement patch plans.
It was not necessarily clear that the road was going to be redirected in this manner.
Okay, well, that essentially the culverts were going to be combined to one. That's the clear language in the agreement. Okay, and that the road would swap places with the drain. That's pretty clear in the agreement.
No, it says realignment.
Realignment.
That's not swap places.
Okay, fair. So, but they knew that the project was going to be part of the off-site road improvements. I don't know, we certainly gave the agreement and ended up in the PUD agreement with the township. They have not, I don't think the developers submitted off-site plans to the township. I'm not aware of that. And the road commission is responsible for the off-site improvements.
Do you recall, well, I guess we don't, but in that same paragraph, it says, if they can't get, we didn't go through that part, I don't think. If they can't get all of the permits required, then they would be required to replace the existing structures, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So wouldn't it be fair to assume that they didn't get the required approvals?
That's the question that remains from the township. The township has said in an email that essentially they need to approve this.
Correct.
And
And so
ultimately,
what's your stance on that? From
the developer has to work that out. They have to get all outside, as a condition of our permit.
So
they have
they
to
will
get.
not get permits until.
Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so our permit language says that they have to get all outside agency approvals.
So why wasn't that caught at the beginning when you issued a permit?
The township never took issue until this issue arose.
So you didn't know that they didn't know, is basically what it was.
The township engineer absolutely has seen these plans.
Who's the township engineer?
OHM advisors.
You talking about that?
They're aware of what was going on. They're aware, there's an awareness of this project. I can guarantee that.
Well, they were all aware of the project. They were not all aware of what it actually did because they didn't see.
I can't speak for them, but certainly there's an awareness
I
for the
suppose,
project.
yeah. Matt, yes.
What's that?
Matt at OHM.
Yeah, there was a Matt Parks at
Correct,
OHM.
yeah,
Matt
that's-
McDonnell and Matt Parks.
Yeah, I got it, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Sir.
We keep coming back to the township did or did not do one thing or another. You've mentioned that your next step moving forward is to meet with the township. Who? What office, what person? Can you share that with us? Because you don't meet with the township.
We're gonna meet with their planning consultant for one, and I'm sure the supervisor might be involved. Probably the township engineer as well. I mean, we're gonna round up everybody.
Okay, that sounds great, and it doesn't sound like any of those people is in an ultimate decision-making capability. So who's gonna pull the trigger on this or not at the township?
My thoughts are that it would probably, if the township feels that it warrants an amendment, which I'm quite certain that they do, the planning commission will determine whether it's a minor amendment or a major amendment. And both of those have processes that you go through the planning commission and or the township board, depending on whether it's minor or major. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those discussions public or?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are they publicized?
On the township website, the township has a planning commission meeting once a month or every other week?
Yeah, just go to Scioto Township.
Yeah,
website,
yeah.
There's meetings.
So if they require us to get an approval to do this, which obviously we didn't realize that we needed that, and none of the agencies realize it.
Right.
We will go ahead and look at, get a meeting set up, prepare the paperwork, and those will all be public hearings. There'll be public hearings associated with them. We will talk to the township. I wanna clarify something that Scott said. When you're saying we aren't giving you answers, we're not answering questions, what you'd like to hear is this is putting it on the other side of the road is a distinct possibility and we're gonna look at it. I don't know if it's a distinct possibility or not, but we will look at it. We're gonna consider it. We obviously hear that you guys are upset about this and we're listening to you. Whether putting on the other side of the road actually physically can be done, he doesn't know. And whether we can get it permitted or not, we don't know. So it took him 3 years just to get an answer from Eagle that yes, we were gonna get permitted. And somewhere in that process, Scott and I had multiple conversations going, I don't know if we're gonna get a permit to do this. So we will explore that, we will look at it, but when you're saying yes or no, no one sitting in this room nor any engineer in the state of Michigan can answer your question. It's
I think people aren't asking that, I think they're asking, is it something that's worth considering and talking?
It is worth.
I don't think anyone's asking for.
Yeah, Jonathan, it is worth considering, we'll look into it. I didn't know the township had bought the property, I didn't know that at all.
No, I mean,
And so if there's an opportunity there to make that work, we certainly will look at it.
The only time I ever know something's going on is because I see a civil engineer sitting there at the corner putting stakes and I ask him what's going on. And that's the truth. So I talked to them about 2 weeks ago. I said, hey, what you guys doing?
You met Bubba.
I don't know. I was like,
That's what, Bubba?
yeah, you guys put a sign at the end of Park Road saying, public meeting about road improvements, things like that.
Let's call on Dave, who's been holding his hand up patiently online.
That's all.
Thanks. I'm a Trailwoods neighbor. Considering the response today, was there any consideration of just leaving it alone, leaving Staebler alone and finishing Park?
I don't think that that's a realistic possibility, given the amount of traffic that they take right now, and I'm pretty sure our friends at the road commission are shaking their heads, no.
No.
And that's simply because of the traffic expected in that area?
Yeah, ultimately, when this concept was put forth, there was a traffic study that looked at all the impacts to the offsite infrastructure. And ultimately, we have a very difficult time maintaining, as you know, a soft surface roadway with that amount of volume. And that's why we entered into an agreement. That's why the agreement was put before a judge to say, yes, it's a legal binding document. And that's why it was put into the PUD agreement, because these improvements are necessary to support this development.
You never crowned the road. You crowned the road after Staebler, but from Staebler to Z Road, you never crowned the road or brought it up. It's always been down about 8 inches and graded out. Eating away at the edges, so water comes in, stays there. So you never added that, I don't know, whatever you got after Staebler.
Like I said, a gravel road with this amount of volume is very difficult to maintain.
I understand,
Yep.
I understand both sides.
Sir?
Your road study and your traffic study, does it assume that at some point the road will be paved from Z Road to where it's currently ending?
It's been a long time since I looked at the study. Anything we have on file for the development, you can get.
So the
All you have to do is fill out a FOIA request.
So the additional traffic on Park Road is coming from where?
For every new house, it's estimated, it generates between 7 to 10 trips per day.
Right, but.
So you can do the math. There's a lot of trips that get generated.
The residents at the south end of Trailwoods in phase 1E and 2E eventually are going to, they're probably, maybe you're hesitant to use it as much now when weather's bad and everything like that, but they're gonna find that way going out to Zeeb Road is convenient. And so there's gonna be a lot more traffic there. You get out to Zeeb Road, if you wanna get on the expressway, you don't have to do the city left through Jackson Boulevard and everything like that, so.
You'll just go out of, once it's paved, what you'll do is you'll go out and you'll turn on Cedar Ridge, turn on Rollingwood, and avoid the dirt road between Cedar Ridge and Z, which is what I do already.
Well, and just so everyone's aware, we're talking about awareness, public information meeting. Certainly this township is considering and has entered into a agreement with their township engineer to look at that segment of Park Road and paving that from where the developer's responsibility ends for the agreement all the way to Z Road. So that is underway. We are working with the township on that. In the road improvement agreement, there is discussion that there would be some SAD. I'm not sure the township is looking to do an SAD, a special assessment district, forgive me. Sometimes they use acronyms, assuming everyone knows. I don't know what the that is gonna be a township run project to pave that remaining portion of park. Not sure how they're gonna fund that. So just awareness one, make you aware of that. Yep.
Mr. Bessel, Mr. Stolman, given again, kind of, I think, the sentiments that you've heard tonight, would you be willing to consider some mitigation strategies, assuming that the plans go forward, such as building a berm to offset the effects for those people on abutting
We've already talked about additional landscaping, berming.
the area, not on park on
Staebler.
right, for those people being affected for light noise, safety issues, and then also offsetting the loss of open space somewhere else in the subdivision, creating more open space for people.
Have to look into that one. I don't know.
So that's part of the actual site plan, isn't it? You have to have a certain amount of open space.
Even with this additional easement dedication, we'd have over the required amount of open space. We've done that calculation.
But not the approved.
Not the currently approved, but that's what the amendment would do.
In addition to all the things that he just mentioned that you both were shaking your head, so does that also include property value declinations that we all paid extra for?
I can't speak about that.
Good, right?
So.
A lot of money to pay extra to have those lots, and now they're probably going to be a profit decline.
Once again, we weren't involved in your relationship with your builder and the sale of your lot, so we don't know what those, a cul-de-sac as I know, Aaron, right? Yeah, Aaron, I know you live on the cul-de-sac, I don't know where everybody else does, but a cul-de-sac lot premium is probably part of what you paid. Everybody pays a premium, lives on a cul-de-sac for the benefit of not having drive-by traffic. That's just a common thread in any development. I don't know what component of yours was a premium due to backing up to an open spot. So I can't speak to that. That's something you probably want to talk to your builder about. I wasn't there.
Did the builder have the knowledge that there was gonna be a road that goes through the open space that they sold us on?
What's that?
Did the builder have knowledge that a road was gonna go into the open space when they sold us our lot?
I had no contractual relationships with your builders. The trouble is that many of the representative of your builders are gone now. The company.
So you don't, but you sold on the lots, do you know if they were given plans or any
Aaron, the clear problem here, you know, if you look at it and take a step back, is that Toll Brothers knew that there was going to be a realignment, there was going to be the same road improvements, they got the road improvement agreement, they reviewed it, they're a big company, they know. The reality is we're all here today because this improvement is more, whether the technical language of the road's been realigned is not clear enough, but it's more invasive to you guys than what originally you were told or not told. And I really don't know. I have reached out to Toll Brothers and made them aware that there's a problem here. And they, at least the gentleman I spoke to said he hadn't heard from anybody. So I don't know, I can't speak for them. But clearly this seems more invasive than we anticipated than what the language looks at. So we're gonna go meet with the township. We're gonna figure out what are our options here to resolve this. We're trying to figure this out now. We really didn't expect to have this kind of reaction to thing, but we're understanding, we're listening to you. We're having this meeting in an attempt to be transparent and walk you guys all through this. What the ultimate resolution here is, we don't know. Let us go meet with the township, see what they want to handle it. Maybe there's a way of solving the problem with the township. Maybe there's a way of solving the problem with you guys and we look at how to re-landscape it or shape it. We're not going away. We're standing here. If we were hiding, we would not be here. So we're trying to figure out how to solve a problem that wasn't anticipated. And we're in the process right now. You email me every other day. We're not going anywhere, but we don't have any clear answers because we had to have this meeting and then we have to go meet with the township and likely then we're gonna probably have to meet with the road commission. There's a lot of different parties here. So I appreciate and understand people's frustration, but to try and resolve something that I don't know how we're gonna resolve right now. All I can say is we're going to work on it and try and come up with a solution that's satisfactory for everybody.
And I think you're pretty sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
We did not anticipate this, obviously, and things happen. We're gonna see what we can do to make lemonade out of lemons, if you wanna put it that way.
We're going to the internet for a second.
To me?
Yeah, that's you, Jordan.
All right, so yeah, a couple quick comments. Yeah, the road improvement agreement is written very vaguely. I've had multiple people look at this. I don't think anybody finds that wording clear. I know somebody thought that it was clearly written, but the road improvement agreement actually includes a picture that shows two perpendicular roads and doesn't show this cut through. So, you know, you'd think that if it was clearly planned out, you know, that the single crossing, that the picture would be accurate, but another quick comment is the traffic impact study was done in 2013. So, you know, it's over a decade old. So anyways, I'm not sure that it reflects, you know, current, you know, traffic patterns, given the pandemic and everything that's happened, you know, since that time. And then I guess my third question, this is my question though. So I talked with Eagle, because, you know, I similarly was in the dark about this project from, you know, numerous discussions with, you know, various stakeholders throughout our building of our home and everything else. Eagle said that, you know, a public notice was given to HC Investment Holdings and to the association for the public meeting regarding this in September of 2021. They said there's a 30-day appeal period where the subdivision could have raised concerns back in September of 2021. The words that were used to me was there's an ethical and legal requirement for this, you know, association to distribute this to homeowners. From everyone I've talked to, nobody received this public notice about this project. Is there any explanation for why this notice wasn't distributed?
Yes, I never received the notice.
According to their documents, it says you did, but right, I don't know.
I didn't receive anything. I also find it very unusual, at least in my 30 years of doing this, to be frank with you. I've never heard of public notice from a government agency that's giving it to the HOA would be, I don't know, constructive notice of some sort. I mean, typically they send out notice to the property owners of anybody that's impacted. But yeah. I can tell you right now, I did not receive a notice from them. So I either personally or on behalf of the HOA.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to figure out why we didn't get it, and what they told us is that because it's a condo development, it would have gone to the HOA and then it should have been distributed, but yeah, it lists, both companies on the distribution list, so.
I don't, it could have gone to my partner in Charleston. I don't know. I asked him if he had seen any notice and he said he doesn't believe so, but he didn't recall. But I know I didn't receive anything. Karen?
So I don't think anyone's like looking for like definitive answers as to what's gonna happen today. So I guess I was looking for clarification from you on what you're expecting to look for in your approval. Are you expecting this to be a major improvement that you're gonna need
I don't. Aaron, if I knew, I would
We
tell
don't
you.
know.
We got an email from the township saying, hey,
Wednesday.
this is a problem.
Yeah.
We wanna meet with you.
Tuesday.
And we need to set up a meeting.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna set up a meeting and then we'll see what they say.
You know everything that we know, I guarantee you. So, yes.
When can we expect to have the stakes removed from our backyard?
I would suggest that we could take them down. Or you can have them, burn them in your.
Do it again.
Yes, ma'am.
When is your meeting with the township?
It hasn't been scheduled, probably in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we
You know, with
couldn't
the
get
holidays.
everyone together and the township planner is on vacation next week, so it's gonna be the week of the 10th at the earliest, so we haven't decided yet. That will not be, I'm assuming that won't be a public meeting, like a public hearing. That will be amongst the planner and the engineer, us, probably the township supervisor. But I don't think that one would be available for public attendance. So, yes, sir.
When is the project, you finished, like, is there a timeline that they have to finish this, or, this has to wait for all this to be, I'm just trying to figure.
We're overdue to be finished. COVID didn't do us any
It
favors
shouldn't
either,
start,
so. But
it shouldn't start the project, so. People are probably complaining about the dust in their screens and stuff.
Yes.
You know, that's the road commission's part to keep the dust down, spray it down, pound the road, drive slow, take it easier in the country, right? Right?
Hold on, in the front row?
No, okay. All right.
I know you tried to clarify this earlier. This is not a question, not about Staebler's realignment. The pathway that is showing in the final plan, that's going to extend all the way to the end?
All the way to the easterly border of the subdivision, yes.
Okay, and is that pathway going to be on the road side of the berm? Where the berm
It will be the
exists now?
berm, between the berm and the road.
It'll be between the berm and the road, and you're not going to be moving the berm?
No, I mean, they're gonna have to level out an area, the berm right now does this, they're gonna have to, make a shelf for it and everything. There'll be grading changes, but the berm is not going away, the height of the berm isn't changing, the berm is there for the purposes that you probably all know why, and that's not gonna change, so. I don't even know if has the berm on the west side, has it been landscaped yet, trees? Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, the berm has been, yes, the berm has.
Oh,
The
yeah,
path is
and
not.
irrigation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant on the east side, the east side. The west side, I know the west side is done.
The berm itself has been, it's been all the landscaping from the entire thing down to the.
Okay, all right,
Without the oaks and maples.
gotcha, all right, thank you. Yes,
Pine trees.
So I understand that you can't commit to other ideas at this point without fully considering them. Are you able to commit at this point that this project will not be moving forward the way that it was proposed?
I can't even say that, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to investigate and I don't know what the feasibility and the permittability of some of them are. So, I mean, Eagle has seen this and I explained what Eagle's goals are. Eagle has all the rights to say, you gave us a perfectly good solution that we're happy with. We're fine with that. Don't change it.
So despite this community not supporting this, you're saying that there's a chance that you will still move forward with this plan.
I'm not ruling out anything at this time. I just don't know. Yes, I would say there's a chance that we could move forward. There's a chance that we could flip things around. There's a chance that we could do a lot of things. But I don't have an answer and I can't commit to anything right now. We're looking at everything. And so that's all I can tell you. Yes, sir.
I'd like to share a slightly different perspective, or in fact, a dramatically different perspective. As a lifelong Park Road resident, the concept of moving Staebler has been around for 20 or 30 years, at least, to correct that two-bridge situation. So it's not new to me. We always hoped it would happen, but it never did. In fact, we were surprised it didn't happen when they started the development in the first place. Ironically, it should have done. Because those bridges go down and then they block one off.
We wouldn't be sitting here.
And one's unavailable for months while we use the other. The completely contradictory perspective to the community that's here. And honestly, I didn't know that there was a community that was upset about this. I came to the meeting to see what is going on, why have they stopped the project. Is that road, those roads, Staebler and Park to Z, have been a disaster since they started the project. The traffic on it, the heavy equipment on it, you know it's a disaster after a rainstorm.
But there hasn't been
And we have just
anything
now.
done to Park Road for 10 years.
We've been living with it for ever since the project started. So we were very grateful to see the sign that said they're about to repair the roads and the committed pavement that we've been waiting for a long time. So I'm not disagreeing with your upsetness. I understand the property values and the change in what.
We all wanted to pave just as much as you did.
Yeah.
We just did like.
I understand. I listen very carefully. I understand perfectly. I'm just sharing as a minority. I'm just sharing as a minority, a slightly different perspective so that you understand there is another community out there.
That's great.
That is waiting for those goddamn roads to be paved.
Yes.
You know, we watched Whitmer, right? Somebody should fix the damn roads, and what I'm hearing tonight is it's gonna be another 3 years. So it's a
Is
little
that a
disappointing.
guarantee?
I wanna be respectful when I finish, but I do wanna say that the reason Park Road is in the condition it's in, it's been 20 years of neglect and 10 years of
50 years of neglect. 50 years, that's why it's down that far. You lose about 1/8 of an inch every year.
I don't need to be convinced, I've been driving on it for 30 plus years. What I'm saying is that the road itself has deteriorated to a level where if Park Road was in Staebler Road were maintained, we wouldn't have the dust problem to the extent that we do. We wouldn't have the speed problems, we wouldn't have the tie rod ends breaking off our cars on a regular basis. What I'm saying is that there was a responsibility to take care of Park Road. It has not been done. There was money, we all paid into this set to fix Park Road, and all other projects were done except for Park Road. So as we analyze the situation and look at Park Road and say, what does this road need? You know, we're in this mess. The thing is really in terrible shape because the township itself didn't spend the money that we set aside, that we voted in and set aside to take care of Park Road. And the fact that we're this far along in this process and Park Road gets scraped once in a while and no stone gets added is the reason it's so bad.
No disagreement with the historical perspective, but the traffic on the road, I think that Washington County's got it right. It needs pavement for that amount of
It needs more
traffic.
care.
So dirt.
Somehow got graded today, right?
Dirt won't do
Great.
it.
Come on, right?
It's so great, so do it.
We went through a sad meeting over across Miller for it. We had the road commission and everything there, and it is extremely expensive for them to maintain the dirt roads. It's more expensive to maintain the dirt road than it is to maintain the paved road.
Up front versus back.
So if you want your taxes to go up, then they can grade more often and they can dust more often, but your taxes are gonna go way up and it's very expensive.
Well, not if the road's properly maintained.
Yeah, because of
No, I think traffic is an issue, but I mean, maybe they should go down Staebler Road to do it.
We have about 10 minutes left. Does anybody have anything that hasn't been discussed?
people discuss the runners and the bikers and the walkers and everything
No.
like that?
We haven't.
Oh, really?
What about them?
Oh, that's amazing, because you guys think about the paved road, the speed that is already there. And then you have people that are enjoying the country setting. They might be a new resident, old resident, things of that nature, they're walking their dogs, they're going down that. People actually come from the other side of town to just come down that road, and they park their car right there. Seaman Park right there, and then they get out and they walk their dog and go down to Staebler, they even go run even to Lotus Farms there, walk back. And that speed is insane.
It is.
You know, I go about 35, 40 down that road, and the one lady that's right east of Staebler, she was like, slow down. I was like, whoa, ho, ho, ho. Backed up, talked to her a little bit, and I said, listen, I always I'm not speeding down this road. I'm not trying to be a race car driver, but there is people that don't know that road, that haven't lived on that road, that wanna haul down that road 55 miles per hour. Our neighbors don't do that, and the people that know that road don't do that. They know that there's a pace, there's runners, there's joggers, there's people walking their dogs, things like that. You put a paved road in there,
Faster.
that's an Autobahn.
Yep.
When you want people being able to enjoy the country, it's just, think about it for a while. That T at Staebler and Parkville, there's nothing wrong with it, except you gotta pull a little bit past the stop sign, make sure you look east. Okay, nobody's coming over the bridge, make a right. Right? How inconvenient is that? Are you doing convenience for people that just moved in? What's the convenience? Dust in their screens, things of that nature? What is your convenience? What is this paving for?
Quick question, how will people be notified in here? There's obviously some Trailwoods people, there's some not Trailwoods people, there's a lot of things going on in this room. You know, how will people be notified of the outcome of the meeting that you all have with the road commission, the township, all that good stuff?
Clearly, we need improvement, so.
Yeah, transparency and.
Yeah, Aaron, however we do it, and I don't know if we need another meeting, we can have another meeting, but once we have a meeting like this one, if we need one, but my plan is we'll go meet with the various stakeholders, and there's a whole bunch of them. And we're gonna try and come up with a solution that works for everyone. When we get to the point where either there's different options or there's a solution or whatever it is, and I don't know what it will be, I will directly email you and let you know. And if we need to have it sent around to the homeowners portal and you wanna have another meeting, that's fine. I understand your guys' frustration and you feel like you weren't told what was going on. It really was an oversight that we didn't understand how more invasive this was than what you were expecting. But we're trying to correct that. So how's this one? Whenever something happens where we go, okay, I think this is where it's going, you guys will
Like I said,
find
that's
out.
great, and I know I'll get that, but there's.
We'll prepare something, whether we post it on the HOA portal or website, just like we did when we said, okay, construction's starting. So we'll do whatever we need to do to.
That wasn't posted. Oh, yeah,
It was.
But no, I'm saying like,
parking
it's great for
residents.
us, but there's obviously people in here that don't live in our
Gotcha.
subdivision. I'm curious, is there a way for these people? So I would, I bet that most of these people who don't live in Trailwoods saw the signs on the two roads and go, hey, something's going on here, I'm gonna come here. They wouldn't get.
What would you suggest?
At a minimum. At a minimum, I mean, the township will post, when we have a planning commission meeting, that there are public hearings associated with certain events, and it will certainly be a public hearing associated with the Trailwoods offsite improvement.
So that's what, I get that, but I guess I was wondering, is there the potential that there won't be a public hearing because of the meetings that you all have that people are not included in, that you might just go, yep, we came to an agreement, the township was wrong, this, that, and the other thing, we start. You know, and I'm not saying that's not happening,
If something like that happens, which at this point I don't know, but I doubt it, we'll alert you just the same. So we're not trying to hide anything, I just don't know what the.
No, I know, that's.
This caught us by surprise, honestly. We thought everybody was aware of what was going on. We've lived with this for 12 years. And so we just assumed that people knew what was happening and what the ultimate plans were. So this took us by surprise 2 weeks ago when it blew in. We all stood around looking at each other, how could this be? So we're scrambling and reacting as much as you guys are reacting to, just in a we're at different ends of the reaction, so.
Thanks for the transparency.
Yes?
Park Road resident.
Okay.
And I go down either Zeeb or Staebler to Jackson Road to get out. We saw the signs at first, when, leaving, Park Road closed at Staebler. And then when I came down Staebler to go home, it said Staebler closed at Park. Are they planning on shutting that whole intersection down at one time, or?
I don't think that's what the signs said, that there was going to be
There were signs before the signs that said there's an intersection. It said Park Road is closed at Staebler, and the other one said Staebler closed at Park.
Yeah, when they take out.
Attempt to get the internet, everything. Well, regardless to say, I think those signs will be coming down shortly.
Well, in order to construct the crossing, you'd have to close the intersection. So the intersection was intended to be closed. I think that's the question to be asked.
Right, when you put in a culvert.
We got 3 years, we don't have to worry, right?
No. How about we let Jordan have the last word?
All right, we got 3 years.
All right, sorry, I had one more question. So this has to do with the tree preservation portion of the Scioto Township agreement. This is like 2.25 in that document. It says anything within that Honey Creek development plan, any tree that's taken down will be replaced. All the trees that would be affected by this project are within that, development plan of what's outlined in that tree preservation agreement. So I was just wondering what the tree plan was, including that, I'm assuming that big tree in the corner would go, but.
Well, the township has a mitigation requirement for any trees over certain sizes, and I'm sure that we would have to oblige by that and find a spot to put some other trees.
Used to be a beautiful canopy coming off down Staebler to Park. Beautiful canopy, road to road. And then the east side just got taken down and never replaced. Pine trees.
Yeah, I was just curious where those trees would go, because I think there's lots of trees that would be affected by this. And so if you do a 1-to-1 replacement per the agreement, that's a ton of trees, and there's not really that much open space left if this plan was to go through. So I don't know where they're gonna stick all these trees.
I got 3 acres you can put trees on.
Very nice.
I was thinking of you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out this evening. I apologize for the confusion.
You know what, if any of the people in the audience are residents, but are non-residents in Trailwoods, and you wanna give me your email addresses, then that may be an easy way to contact if you wanna do that. Just come on up.
No, there wasn't.
Hi.
Scott, I'm Steve. Steve, nice to meet you.
I didn't wanna take your TV here so many times.
I'm on that side. I'm just waiting to find out.